Victims of the conflict era have been waiting for justice for 17 years now. However, government, political parties and leaders continue to exhibit apathy towards formulating and amending laws that facilitate injustice delivery. Experts have also continued to highlight on the efforts to grant impunity to perpetrators who are on power. As the old adage goes, justice delayed is justice denied. There is no alternative with concerned authorities but to expedite the formation of crucial laws. Good morning, I'm Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. Government apathy continues in forming laws related to peace process. Victims and their families continue to wait for justice. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission without officials since 1 year. National Security Council holds discussions on cybersecurity. Experts warn confidential national information and national sovereignty at risk. Russian President Vladimir Putin warns Poland of retaliation against any attack on its ally Belarus, says Poland has territorial ambitions in the former Soviet Union. And defending champions US kick off their World Cup campaign with a win against Vietnam. Later today, Zambia take on Japan, Haiti are up against England, while China take on Denmark. Justice delivery to the victims of conflict era has been eluding in the absence of crucial laws. The bill related to transitional justice has been stranded at the Parliamentary Committee, while the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has been without officials since 1 year. It took the government 8 years since the signing of Comprehensive Peace Accord in 2006 to form the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, and the Commission of Investigation on Enforced Disappeared Persons, CIEDP. Over 63,000 cases have been filed at TRC and 33,000 at CIEDP. The bill for third amendment to the laws related to TRC has been stranded at the Human Rights Committee. On 25th of May earlier this year, the committee formed an 11-member subcommittee. However, discussions on the proposed amendment have yet to take place. The Supreme Court has directed concerned authorities to facilitate injustice delivery to the victims, but experts say political parties have taken it lightly. Meanwhile, victims have continued to highlight the shortcomings in the proposed laws. They say heinous crimes during the conflict era had not been included as serious violation of human rights and that those in power had intended of giving impunity to the perpetrators. They have also expressed outcry over the provision that prohibits appealing against the decision by special court in conflict era cases. Cyber sector experts have drawn the government's attention towards possible hacking of confidential information that could risk national security and sovereignty. Speaking at a program held by the National Security Council, experts urged the government to take necessary initiatives to strengthen the country's cyber security. In the program held in the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, experts from Nepal Police, Nepal Army and Ministry of Communication and Information Technology briefed regarding the challenges to national security while using information technology. They highlighted the cyber attack and cyber crime had weakened the security of national information and encroached on general public's privacy. They also urged the government to implement relevant technology and raise human resource to ensure cyber security. In response to the concerns, Prime Minister Pushpakamal Dahal said the government was sensitive towards the scenario, referring to a recent incident where government website was hacked, affecting service delivery to the public. Premier Dahal gave assurance that the government was doing homework to present a bill related to communication and information technology at the Parliament at the earliest. The owner or the mastermind of the seized 100 kilograms of gold is yet to be arrested. Even as the Revenue Investigation Department has arrested 10 individuals so far in connection with the large cache of gold, it is yet to get any link to the gold's owner. The cache of 100 kilograms of gold had already cleared the TIA customs when it was seized by the Revenue Department. The 10 arrested individuals in the case, including one Indian and one Chinese national, each have refused to take the ownership of the gold. The department, meanwhile, has claimed that it will reach to the bottom of the case very soon as the arrestees are being interrogated. The department has speculated the involvement of a high-profile top-level nexus in the scam. Since there are limited scope for the large amount of gold to be used in Nepal, investigation has also pointed out that Nepal was merely used as a transit before the gold was smuggled to bigger market in India. Minister for Home Affairs Naran Kaji Shrestha has meanwhile said that the main culprit will be arrested irrespective of his or her profile. The authorities' inability to nab the prime culprit has given way to various speculations related to the scam. The importer company called Reddy and its operator Dilip Bhujel has turned out to be an ordinary worker in local noodle factory. The Reddy trade was only registered 3 months ago, while the company since then has imported scooter brake shoe on 15 different occasions out of 28 times it imported goods. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what could be the reason for the inability to arrest the main culprits of the gold scam? Your options are A. Political cover, B. Nexus, and C. Feeble investigation. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Supreme Court has granted bail for Secretary Administrative Communications and Information Technology Krishna Bahadur Raut, who was arrested for alleged involvement in the Lalita Niwas land scam. The apex body, however, has scrapped the habeas corpus writ filed by other alleged culprits in the case. Joint Bench of Justice Prakash Tangana and Nahakul Subedi directed the Central Investigation Bureau of Nepal Police to release Raut on the condition that he does not leave the country without permission until the investigation concludes. The bench has scrapped the habeas corpus writ filed by business person Min Bahadur Gurung, the operator of Bhatbhatini supermarket chain, former election commissioner Sudhir Kumar Shah, and former employee of Land Revenue Office Dharma Prasad Gautam. Gautam, among others, had filed the writ at the Supreme Court saying that they had been kept in custody illegally. Following this, the CIB had filed an application at the Supreme Court to scrap the interim order. CIB has been conducting investigation for forgery and organized crime in the Lalita Niwas land scam. Meanwhile, the District Court Kathmandu has extended judicial custody of those arrested in the case by 5 more days. One more person has been arrested from the list of individuals alleged of involvement in the Lalita Niwas land scam. Central Investigation Bureau of Nepal Police has arrested the then Chief of Dili Bazar Land Revenue Office, Galadhar Deuja. Deuja's arrest comes after the Supreme Court scrapped the writ filed last year by Deuja himself and Joint Secretary Tikaram Khemire against their arrest. The Bureau had arrested several individuals, including Deuja, last year itself. However, they were released immediately, considering an interim order by the Supreme Court in response to the writ. Deuja has been alleged of receiving over 4 ropanis of land as a gift for helping transfer government land in Lalita Niwas to private individuals while heading at the Dili Bazar Land Revenue Office. Tea businesses have raised concerns over declining productivity of tea due to climate change. Speaking at an interaction program held in Chapa's Birta Mode, representatives from tea businesses said there was a need to develop climate change resilient technology to help conserve biodiversity and raise productivity. Experts call for the use of solar and electricity instead of coal and firewood at tea factories. Participants expressed concerns over the inability to access funds from carbon trading and called on the government to take necessary initiatives. There have also been calls for operation of auction center and exports to third countries to ensure profit in the industry. The Russia-Ukraine war has had a telling and lasting impact on the global food supply chain. Now, with Russia rejecting renewing the Black Sea grain deal with its nemesis, many countries are certain to continue bearing the brunt of skyrocketing inflation. The persisting war has also raised the risks of food insecurity. Amid this scenario, in order to cope with the looming food crisis, Nepal's southern neighbor India has announced it will halt the export of rice, which will affect Nepal's own market as it imports paddy of over 45 billion rupees on an annual basis. Apart from the Russia-Ukraine war, India expects drought and floods caused by climate change to dent its paddy production this year forth. As a result, India has decided to stop exporting rice despite its 40% share in the country's total export. Agro-economists in Nepal say this decision will have a serious impact on Nepal's food security. Nepal currently produces around 5.5 million metric tons of rice each year, according to Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, which is still 1.5 million metric tons less than the current demand. In the past 11 months, Nepal has imported rice worth more than 45 billion rupees, which sheds more light on the need to raise domestic productivity. Based on government records, just around 1.3 million hectares of land is being used for agriculture out of the 4 million arable land. To make matters worse, more than 2/3 of the used land do not have proper irrigation facility. Shortage of chemical fertilizers and lack of access to technology, among others, pose further challenge in this sector. Although more than 60% of the population are engaged in the agriculture sector, Nepal continues to import agricultural products worth over 300 billion rupees annually. Considering the current scenario in which more than 30 districts are food insecure, experts warn the situation could worsen if timely actions are not taken. In this context, in our Public Voice segment, we've asked in several provinces what should be done to be self-sufficient in food. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
किसानलाई चाहिँ नि सहुलियत रेटमा चाहिँ ऋण उपलब्ध गराउनु पर्यो, कृषि ऋण उत्पन्न गराउनु पर्यो।
सरकारले कृषि पेशालाई जोड दिएर स्थानीय उत्पादन बढाउनतर्फ चाहिँ ध्यान दिनुपर्छ।
खेतीपातीको लागि एकदम ठुलो रूपमा त्यो खेतीपाती खेत चाहियो।
कृषकहरूले खेती बाँझो राख्नु भएन र सबैले कृषिमा ध्यान दिनु पर्यो।
सरकारले चाहिँ अब हामीलाई बाहिर नजानु परोस्, यहीँनिर पाओस् भन्नाले यहाँनिर फ्यासिलिटी दिनु पर्यो।
सबैभन्दा पहिला त हाम्रो यो छिप्पु कुकुरी खेती गर्ने प्रणाली छ नि, त्यसलाई एकीकृत गरेर चक्लाबन्दी रूपमा खेती प्रणाली चाहिँ अपनाउनु पर्यो।
कृषि गर्नेहरूलाई सरकारले प्रोत्साहन गर्नु पर्यो।
जे जति मात्रामा चाहिँ जस्तो नीतिहरू बनाएको छ त्यो नीतिहरूलाई चाहिँ प्रभावकारी रूपमा कार्यान्वयन गर्न सक्यो भने
कृषि क्षेत्रलाई सम्मानित पेशाका रूपमा ग्रहण गर्नु पर्यो। सरकार र पब्लिक क्षेत्रले
सिँचाइको सुविधा दिनु पर्यो, मल खादको सुविधा दिनु पर्यो।
दूध, अंडा, फल, फूल इत्यादिहरू सब आफ्नै देशमा उत्पादन गर्ने जनशक्ति तयार गर्नु पर्यो।
राज्यले पनि यसलाई अब मलहरू अनुदान दिनु पर्यो।
कृषिमा चाहिँ धेरै लगानी गरेर चाहिँ किसानलाई चाहिँ अनुदान दिने।
कृषि के खटाउनु पर्यो।
It's time now for the international update. Russian President Vladimir Putin has warned his country will retaliate against any attack on its ally with all means at its disposal, as Poland denies having any territorial ambitions in Belarus. Putin has accused Poland of having territorial ambitions in the former Soviet Union and said any aggression against its neighbor and ally Belarus would be considered an attack on Russia itself. In a televised remarks, Putin warned that Moscow would use any means at its disposal to protect Belarus, which forms a loose union state with Russia, against possible attacks. Putin said there were reports of plans for a Polish-Lithuanian unit to be used for operations in western Ukraine, parts of which in the past belonged to Poland and ultimately occupied territory there. Poland, a NATO member and one of Ukraine's staunchest allies in its fight against Russia's invasion, denied any territorial ambitions in Ukraine or Belarus. Poland has reinforced its defenses at the border with Belarus, where fighters from Wagner mercenary force moved after an aborted mutiny in Russia last month. Warsaw's Security Committee decided on Wednesday to move military units to eastern Poland after Wagner fighters arrived in Belarus. On Wednesday, Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was shown in a video welcoming his fighters to Belarus, telling them they would take no further part for now in the war in Ukraine, but ordering them to gather strength for Wagner's operation in Africa while they train the Belarusian army. The re-election of long-time Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen on Sunday is not in doubt in a process in which all opposition parties have been barred, but the candidacy of his eldest son, critics say, has offered a glimpse of Cambodia's future. The political debut of 45-year-old Hun Manet marks one of the final steps in a decades-long grooming process that is expected to end with him succeeding his father as Prime Minister. Hun Sen in 2021 named his eldest as his choice to succeed him as leader, and his long-ruling Cambodia People's Party soon endorsed him as future Prime Minister. To become Prime Minister, Hun Manet needs to be a member of the National Assembly, which he will do if he wins a seat tomorrow, as expected, and receive approval from the King. It is not clear when the transition will happen, but some academics suspect that Sunday's election will be Hun Sen's last. For some, Hun Manet represents a young, fresh face who will further develop Cambodia. Hun Sen sent his son to West Point, the first Cambodian to graduate from the U.S. Military Academy. He then earned a master's degree in economics from New York University and a PhD in economics from the University of Bristol. Hun Manet studied abroad and rose up the ranks of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces, deputy of his father's bodyguards, commander of counter-terrorism, commander of the army and deputy commander-in-chief. He also became head of the ruling party's youth wing and joined its standing committee and raised his international profile. Hun Sen has indicated that he expects his heir to rule in his own model, and if he does not, he might take back power. That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.